Hello. Today what I want to talk about is a little bit about routing and switching and a little bit of wireless. So what I want to do is start off here. We are going to have, let's say it's a home computer. And let's say that this little square rectangle is your little wireless box. And this little piece right here is the wireless antenna right there. Okay. Now this is a wireless router and also switch. And so let's say you have a couple of PCs plugged into this. All right. And then there's an internet connection going to the internet over here through your ISP. All right. This right here implies the internet and connection. And here's the internet cloud. Put a smiley face on it. Okay. That's the internet. All right. Now, you have a PC here that's going to be configured to most likely get an IP address dynamically from this little wireless router. And what the function of that would be, or the part of that router that does that, would be DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Okay. Hang on a second. And so one of the typical addresses you might get would be something like 192.168.1.0 with a mask of this right here. That's the default mask. Okay. Actually, 1.0 is the network. You might get a number like 1.2, all right, for this one. Now, you can do an IP config command to actually see what that is. IP config. Now, this next one might be 1.2. Now, this is a Class C private IP address. There's three classes of IP addresses, A, B, and C, and they have different subnet masks. A Class A is 255.0.0.0. A Class B is 255.255.0.0, and a Class C is, well, you guessed it, three 255s. A is the first letter in the alphabet, so it's 1 255 and 3 zeros. B is the second letter, so it's two 255s and 2 zeros, and the third one is 255.255.255.0. Now what this does is it distinguishes the network identification portion from the hosts. All right. Now, in real sense of the word is, an analogy would be a zip code. The network ID is like the zip code, and the host ID is like your street address within the zip code. So you live at a street address within the zip code, just as .2 lives at a network number. Okay, .2 is the machine here, and it lives within an umbrella of network numbers called the 192.168.1.0. And it's really easy to figure out what the network number is. You take the 192 and what you do is, it's really easy. 192.168.1.2. The network number is used, I say it's easy, but now it's not. 192, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. I know what I'm trying to say. Let's say I got a number over here. 192.168.1.2. 255.255.255.0. Here's what happens. If you line up the network numbers underneath, if you line up the numbers in the IP address underneath the other numbers, like the network number, in essence, you'll get, these all line up, and then these all line up, and then those kind of all line up, separate them by the, the dots have them line up. The dots don't mean any type of mathematical thing like we normally think of as, $4.32. They mean, what happens is they differentiate the different octets. There's 4 octets, octet being 8, and what happens here is the network number would be, if it's a 255 in the network mask column, it's the same number. So it's 192, 168, 1, and a 0 in the last one. So the network number for this is 192. Hang on a minute. .192, because 192 has 255 underneath it, you keep the 192. .168 has a 255 underneath it, you keep the 168. .1 has a 255 underneath it, you keep the 1. And then 2 has a 0 underneath it, so it's always a 0 in that case. There's a process that it goes through to do this. I'm not going to do it right now. It's another day. But essentially, your network number is this. And everybody lives within that network number. All the machines, all the host numbers live within this 192.168 address, if that makes any sense, or zip code, if you will. Okay, so let me do this. 192.168.1.0. So all the little host numbers like .1 and .2 and .3 logically fall within this domain or umbrella of 192.168.1.0. So the default gateway or the router to be able to get you out of this network would be this device right here. The machine that, or the network device that gets you out of any network would be the one that connects to 2 separate networks, okay? Now, the IP address right here is going to be a real IP address like from your ISP. And if you do an IP config, if you go to your router, if you have one at home and web over to it, you can see the IP address. This might be 65.4.1.2. It's going to have a real address. Now, the 192 address is a private IP address, so it's hidden behind this router, wireless router. The wireless router gives out IP addresses via DHCP, but the client machines down here have to be configured to accept that, or configured to get an go obtain an IP address, and that's through the network settings. Okay, typically the default is to go get it, and so they'll get an IP address over here from this guy, and then they can talk on the internet. Now, what happens is the 192 is a private IP address, so you really can't get to the internet with that. You have to go and get a real number, and that's what this router does. It does network address translation. So the little $40, $50, $60 Netgear Linksys router you go get at Best Buy will do this. DHCP, firewall, network address translation is called NAT, and it takes this fake IP address, turns it into a real one, appends a port number to it, like :5001, and then the packet is sent out as a real number, okay, as a 65.4.1.2. This is good for you in that it prevents hackers from kind of infiltrating your network and finding which one of these has got your private information on. Okay. Now, one thing it doesn't do is, let's say I got a rogue hacker over here with a laptop and they got a wireless computer, and I'm doing this like little broadcast. Their wireless antenna is picking up yours, all right? And then they're actually now they'll machine on their laptop will get an IP address, and what'll happen is they'll be like in your network. So they may have 192.168.1.6, and so they're really behind. I call it behind the trenches here. So they're in your network. They're in your trenches, so to speak. So one thing you can do to thwart that is to turn on network address. No, turn on the router. Turn on several things. You can disable the broadcast of the security ID, so it won't just broadcast it out. You can actually turn on encryption, WEP or WPA. They have varying degrees of security there. Of one's better than the other, I should say. I'll let you look that up. You can also turn on MAC filtering, which says only the MAC address of these machines, or let's say I have a real laptop. I only want that one to connect. That way, this one won't be able to connect. But you want to encrypt your data. Let's say you're connecting over here to do some kind of transaction. You want to encrypt your data between your point in the wireless laptop, your wireless laptop and the wireless router, so that you don't actually have your data open. They would call it in clear text, and so somebody over here picks up that transmission. So 2 things: people connecting, don't want to do that. Disable the broadcast. Turn on MAC filtering, and you want encryption on, so somebody who can't connect over here physically to your network, they still can't pick up your transmission. All right, that's a couple of things I wanted to talk about in terms of routing, in terms of the wireless, and I hope you learned a little bit. Copyright Todd Motors, 2007. Thank you.